Idris Deby Itno's death has set off a chain of events that could have profound implications, not just for the immediate future of the Republic of Chad, Nigeria's northeastern Central African neighbor, but also for the sub-regional military coalition against Boko Haram and Islamic State around the Lake Chad region. The operational area of the Tactical Command lies between Chad, Nigeria, Cameroon, and Niger Republic. Since the former Chadian leader's death was announced this past Tuesday, and with the country hurtling towards apparent anarchy, Nigeria, the biggest financial and logistical contributor to that military alliance, has not gone beyond the expected diplomatic expression of sympathy, leading to questions as to whether or not Nigeria will be doing a lot more to avert an escalation of an already bad situation. Analysts say the prospect of another failed state, this time closer to Nigeria's borders, will be better imagined than experienced. Joining us now to consider all the possible security implications of this development is Dr. Ona Ekhomu, security consultant and policy analyst. Dr. Ekhomu is president, Association of Safety and Security Organizations of Nigeria. Dr. Ekhomu, good to have you again on the morning show. Well, very quickly, perhaps it's not correct to conclude that Nigeria has not gone beyond expressing sympathy. Nigeria is calling for a constitutional order in Chad. Nigeria is asking for an opportunity to mediate in the crisis between FACT, the rebel group, and the government forces. And Nigeria has also said in a statement from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs that the Chad crisis may worsen insecurity in Nigeria. Dr. Ekhomu, you are the security analyst. What do you think Nigeria should do, worrying about this country in the northeastern flank?
Thank you very much, Dr. Reuben. Good morning, and thanks for having me here. This is a very serious problem we have on the northeast border of the country. And considering the fact that Boko Haramism is thriving in that region, and the fact that Mr. Deby had been the, perhaps if you made the firewall that had prevented, continuous influx of arms into the country, perhaps for his own personal reasons, I will say that we have a dire situation in our hands. Now, let me give you my worst-case scenario. My worst-case scenario is that we don't want a situation where you can draw a straight line from Libya straight south across the equator and down through the Sahara into Borno State, where there's now a pipeline of weapons flowing freely. Because right now we have something close to a failed state in Libya. And if fail also, given the demise or the assassination of Mr. Deby, then we do have a real problem on our hands, because we're just going to have a pipeline of weapons flowing in unchecked, and that's going to increase, and that's going to perhaps worsen our already very dire security situation in the country. So I think it is something that we ought to worry about a lot. Our security planners should not be sleeping right now. They should be up and trying to figure out what are policy options, what are... now, remember, Chad has been the champion of military diplomacy in Africa. Chad was fighting jihadists in Burkina Faso, fighting for Niger, fighting for Cameroon, of course, certainly fighting for Nigeria against Boko Haram. And so we had all of this going on. Now, if you remember the wrath of Boma, which was declared by Mr. Deby back in March last year, after Boko Haram ambushed and killed 92 Chadian troops, Mr. Deby said that this was the single largest loss of military lives, of Chadian military lives, and declared the wrath of Boma and said that they were going to hear, because this happened in Bohoma. And so he came to the war front. He led the onslaught against Boko Haram and routed Boko Haram from the Chadian side of Lake Chad back into Nigeria. And so that's what he did then, and it was the decisive victory. So much so that even Baba Shekau was asking for mercy from Mr. Deby. So, Chadian military prowess is well known, but the problem here is that they have too many armed groups, too many armed militias all around the country, including even FACT that you have just mentioned that is responsible or said to be responsible for the death of Mr. Deby. So Chad has too many militia groups that are active and fighting and virulent, and it might in fact result in a failed state, because we have seen historically, right from the first president, Francois Tombabaye, his overthrow in '79 by the coalition led by Gokuni Wadaye. It was armed overthrow, even though Nigeria got involved in some of that diplomacy, but it was an armed overthrow, more or less. It was a forced overthrow, change of government by force of arms. Now, Wadaye was overthrown in '82 by Hissène Habré by force of arms again. And of course, Hissène Habré appointed Idriss Deby his chief of staff. And Idriss Deby in '90, first when his own ethnic group became victimized, Zagawa, he went to Western Sudan, into Darfur, and got himself organized and fought his way into the palace in N'Djamena and overthrew Hissène Habré and installed himself as president for the past 30 years, thereabouts.
But this is the thing about those strong men, those sit-tight strong men. As much as we disapprove, they do have their uses, because now in Nigeria, we're kind of shaking in our boots. But what can the multinational joint task force do to mitigate this potentially explosive situation?
Well, MNJTF is an organ of the AU. It's a military alliance, that's what we call it, of the AU. Has contributory forces from many countries that the allying countries, the alliance in the alliance, including Chad. Now, more recently, let's just look at this a little bit. More recently, Chad had threatened, that's April last year, Chad had threatened to pull out of the MNJTF because of unkind comments that were made about their posturing after the wrath of Boma. And of course, we had to go and beg them to calm down and all that. And if you remember, more recently, Mr. Deby also visited our president here in Abuja. Now, having said all of that, the point here is Chad had been the live wire, if I may, even though the leadership rested on Nigeria, and including the present CDS, he was, in fact, a former commander of MNJTF, and then the past chief of army staff, Mr. Buratai, he was also one-time commander of MNJTF. The leadership has rested with Nigeria, but much of the fighting forces, if you may, not in terms of number, in terms of spirit, most of the fighting spirit has been, the inspiration has been from the Chadians. So if the Chadian army is engulfed in its own crisis right now with the death of Deby and the incursion by FACT, that means MNJTF capability is going to be reduced. And in fact, MNJTF cannot help Nigeria much with the fight against Boko Haram right now, despite the leadership, the physical leadership that is provided by Nigerian general. But having said that, I think Nigeria has a very important role to play. First, militarily, we should really, I think, I was happy to see a report somewhere this morning that Nigeria is thinking about securing the northern borders more. That's the borders with Chad.
Okay, Dr.
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Dr. Ekhomu, we'll go for a quick break. We'll come back and talk some more. And you're still seeing live feeds coming in from N'Djamena in Chad. We'll be right back. Right, welcome back. Still morning show right on the Rise News channel. Live feed still coming in from N'Djamena as regards the burial of Idriss Deby Itno. Dr. Ona Ekhomu is still here, security consultant and policy analyst, and we're talking about a pot of issues as regards what is happening in Chad as we speak. So, Yves Le Drian, the Foreign Minister of France, came out boldly to say, okay, we support the coup. What will be the fate of Idris Deby's son now as we speak? Do you think he has that control of the military? And what will be the fate of the fight with the rebels as that goes on in the coming day? Because that will determine the stability of that region. And do you have any intelligence as regards video circulating? A lot of Chadians are pouring into the border into Nigeria and looking for ways to run away from the basket case that Chad will become or might become.
Thank you very much. Yes, thank you, Mr. Oseni. I appreciate you. Let's just take slices of the question. Now, first of all, in terms of the incursion into Nigeria, what might become an IDP problem here, yes, that's going to happen because if, as you know, Chad is a desperately poor country, and if there's instability anywhere, it's the poor that suffer the most. So they're going to pour across the border. Now, the southern part of Chad, that is Lake Chad area, is you have people who are not from the dominant ethnic groups in majority there. Now, that's why they had tended to suffer because they were thought to be colluding or supportive of Boko Haram elements there. So those are going to push further south, well, for economic purposes and then also for their personal security. So we're going to see some of that going into northwest Cameroon and much of it coming into northeast Nigeria. Now that's that. But now let's go back to the military equation. First, the fact that France has accepted the coup. Well,
Dr. Ekhomu, we lost connection with you briefly. It's good you're back.
Hello, Dr. Ekhomu.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so you were making a point on the dynamics
yes,
in that region, yeah.
Yes, thank you very much. And I heard Dr. Abati talking about the dynasties that are being planted. And that is, fact has come out clearly to say that they are not going to accept General Muhammad Deby as the president. Now, that of course, goes against what France is saying. That is the overlord, the colonial overlord, that Mr. Deby is acceptable to them as president. So what does that mean? For me, it's a straight line, more conflict. Because remember, these same FARC guys fought their way all the way to the presidential palace in 2019, and it took French intervention to push the rebels back. Now, does Mr. Muhammad have enough liver, like the dad, to stay inside the presidential palace and hear all the shelling and shooting? I'm not sure. However, that remains to be seen. And so I think what is playing out here is the fact that the Chadian swagger, that's what I've called it in past research, this Chadian swagger is going to be put to test. Chadian swagger relates to the ability of Chadian troops. In fact, they have kind of privatized their troops. They've become like a government-owned but private military force. They go out to do battles for different countries in the region, in their beating zone, that is within their immediate area, including even CAR and Cameroon. So they have been doing this, and they've been helping Nigeria quite a bit, I must say. They came in even as far back as February 2015. They joined from Boso in an attack on Boko Haram, and they helped to rout them, and their troops have quite a bit of swagger to them. I think that comes, I call it a cultural factor. It comes from their French origin and, their flowery language and, the kind of la Francais kind of behavior. But having said that, I think right now that Chadian swagger is going to be put to test because the kind of iron grip that Mr. Deby exhibited and that helped him hold power, even the French had written him off at the beginning, that helped him hold power for 30 years, is not going to be there anymore. And this is a changed world. This is a world of internet now, a world of instant communication. We live in changing times. So it's not the same 1990 that Mr. Deby assumed office and stayed on, up till he was killed a few days ago. It's not the same period that we are in now. We live in more volatile times. But let me not worry about the Chadian problem. They have their problems, and God will help them. They will solve it. But I worry more about what is going to happen, because we're going to see a lot of pressure in terms of inflow of small arms and light weapons, in terms of banditry. Remember, in fact, this whole Boko Haram thing started back in 2009 because of Northeast banditry. Who were the Northeast bandits that we're talking about? It's Chadian fighters, Chadian rebels, Chadian militias who were coming across the border into Nigeria and attacking people in Borno State. That's how they formed Operation Flush as a response, a joint military task force, which used excessive force on June 11th of 2009 and killed those 17 Boko Haram monarchs, which got us in the mess we are into today. So having said that, I think we have to be very careful with what's going to happen here, because aside from weapons coming into the country, we're going to have fighters, we're going to have bandits. Now they have seen what's happening in the Northwest, that bandits from the Sahel, the same Sahel that Chad contributes a lot of forces to the G5 Sahel Defense Force, the same Sahel where Chad goes to fight in Burkina Faso, they've seen them coming into the northwest of Nigeria and going all the way south to Lagos. And so that's a problem, because they are going to just take a cue, from that and say, you know what, if those guys can do it, we can also do it here and be rich, because Nigeria is seen as a rich country where you can take hostages and ask for 800 million naira ransom and, in fact, get paid in some cases.
All right.
Well, Dr. Ekhomu, we have just about 2-3 minutes left. If you could just comment further on the role of France, which is exercising imperialist interests in parts of Africa, and Niger and Chad are very good allies of France. And you've talked about the ambiguity of France in this matter. What are the implications, and what should Nigeria worry about now that Nigeria has been able to take Niger, more or less, with Bazoum in Niger? But Chad seems to still be in the full grips of France.
Yes, well, I think I'm going to worry about regional politics in that context, because a lot of these countries, they take directives, unfortunately. Some of these former French colonies, they take directives from Paris, unfortunately. Now, if France is able to prevail in terms of installing Mr. Mohamed Deby as the president, well, that means, of course, he's going to be hackening onto France also. So, well, that doesn't mean certainly I'm in support of the rebels. I don't support the rebels. I rather think we should go back to the constitutional order, which called for the Speaker of the House of Assembly to take over in the death of the president. Now, Mr. Deby can remain as vice president, or perhaps even defense minister, or even commander of the armed forces, whatever role fits him, because I think that he would perform better in that role. But I think because of our tendency...
Well, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ekhomu. Thank you very much. We seem to have run out of time. Thank you very much indeed.